one of my favorite cornerstones of this franchise is the idea of transcendence and moving on to another plane of existence. And I think you'd probably agree that, you know, once you've been around for a certain amount of time on one plane and you've accumulated so much knowledge and understanding, and there's nowhere else to go but up, in a manner of speaking. How did Ascension, not the episode, but the idea become a thing? And how that's where the ancients ultimately went?
Well, we needed to answer that question to some extent. You know, we wanted to know what happened to them. I think that a lot of Stargate was a not anti-God, but anti-religious.
Yeah.
You know, doctrine. You know, it was about how the worst aspects of religion allowed those, you know, humans or aliens in power to subjugate people, to mistreat them or you know.
And I like how you clarify that, not just religion for religion's sake, but the worst aspects of it that drive us to
There's
selfishness.
Nothing, I understand traditions. I understand, you know, some, you know, seeking a meaning through writing, you know, through stories, whether you consider them to be mythology or not, or truth. I you know, that's your choice. But, you know, let's face it, religion has been used to do some pretty awful things, and in reality, and you know, and that's what the show was about. It was about false gods, you know, enslaving people, and I think I'm not saying that the ancient storyline was a sort of meant to be any sort of proof of a higher, you know, power or being. It was more of a just an antidote to the negative aspects of the use of religion in the show. It was about how, frankly, you know, spirituality or the sort of desire to reach a better state of being, whether whether that exists as, you know, in the mortal world or not, was an idea worth exploring. I feel like it was sort of you could too often focus too much on the negative side of it, and I think Maternal Instinct was about, you know, the beginnings of trying to show that there was another side of the coin out there, you know, and that we weren't all one negative note in terms of what religion was. And it's wrong to almost say religion. I think it's more about, you know, spirituality, because, you know, you can look at things like Buddhism and say, look, there are tenets of that aren't even necessarily, I mean, I guess it is religion, and we're talking about semantics here, but maybe people will be mad at me, but I do think there's, you know, mindfulness and meditation and all those things can exist without God, you know, and how those can be beneficial to you personally, individually, you know, in the context of your life, and how you can use it from a storytelling point of view. We will eventually, I guess, in the course of the conversation, get to the Ori, but that was the seed of that, is like, what is the, you know, what else is going on out there? And if there are, you know, if the Goa'uld are one version of impersonators, in this case of religious icons, are there beings out there that are just advanced and powerful enough that to us appear to be God-like? you know, and what's the difference between being godlike and being a god or being the god?
That's,
you know, like that.
That's a question that you tackled throughout the franchise.
Right.
Particularly with SG-1.
Right. And again, it's one of the things I particularly love is that I don't by any means suggest I have the answer to anything, you know, and that's what it really comes down to is without that knowledge, you know, without that answer, then, you know, let's just explore the possibilities creatively, you know, in terms of storytelling. So that was sort of where it went.
At the end of the day, you're entertaining people, you know? I mean, well, at the end of the day, you're taking home a paycheck. But I mean, in the meantime, you know, you're creating something, trying to create something that is going to be of value to other people. And hopefully, after they turn off the television set, we'll make them think a little bit, you know, about who am I going to be when I wake up tomorrow? You know, as I become 37.201 version of myself or whatever, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, you just sometimes reflecting how people choose to live, you know, and by doing that or showing what a certain character believes in, people can look at themselves and say, yeah, I believe in that, or I don't believe in that. You know, sometimes you find a character on TV and you enjoy watching them because they're so completely opposite what you are, you know, and you sort of decide this is who I am in contrast to who that person is.
Well, there's something to be said for watching people carry out actions that, you know, you in your own little fantasies. Well, wouldn't it be interesting if I did this? I think it's one of the reasons why Breaking Bad is so successful is because we see someone starting off in one place and devolving into something else while we're watching him just delude himself, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, there's all kinds of, we can unpack that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to skip over a couple of my other questions because I think it makes sense to go to the Ori at this point. You know, with Atlantis, we talked about where the ancients or the whatever were called at that point in time, millions of years ago, went, which was Pegasus. And then you guys got into bonus territory by Sci-Fi Channel saying, season 8 was pretty good with Atlantis. Let's do another one. And you almost rebranded it Stargate Command. But you had to tell something next, and that ended up being, where did they come from?
Yeah, I mean...
And who were their brothers and sisters?
Yeah, look, not that I'm not blaming anyone here. This is just circumstance, but the fact was that Richard Dean Anderson wanted to sort of pull back, right? He didn't want to work full time anymore, and so we were losing a major piece of the puzzle, and we talked a lot about just starting another show. You know, like there was, I'm sure the diehard fans know there was talk of rebranding the show Stargate Command, and not continuing on with SG-1. At the end of the day, we felt like we were keeping enough of the old elements. You know, it sounds wrong to call them the old elements, the core elements, let's say, that, you know, I think the success of the show over the long haul was the fact that we were willing to reinvent the show. We were, you know, Daniel went away and, you know, and then came back, and we would bring in, you know, new villains. We would change up the world. It just, that's what kept going.
Thanks for watching this clip from Dial the Gate. You can find the full live stream shows on our YouTube channel or visit dialthegate.com for the complete schedule. See you on the other side.